Those are?
Oh, wait, no, they're knockoffs.
Oh, like,
Independence Day.
oh, I didn't even look.
Yeah, go ahead.
What is this? What is this?
Yeah, down one, but you can show PJ's.
Was this packet for no? That's for PJ?
Yeah, we were never there. Never there. Supplying anything.
I do love that.
My pepper sprayed for less. Such a sticker about that. We just have to turn down emails now.
I haven't heard of their feedback, so we were consulted.
Oh, is that the stuff that they emailed over, the letters of? All right.
Okay, welcome to the February 14th, 2022 zoning board of appeals meeting. We have two applicants on the agenda, and I think we will hear them in the order that they're on here. And we have a full board, so we are good to go. Julietta Hood. Come on up. Come on up to the seat where the microphone is. Welcome, and I guess you're looking to start a dress alteration service?
Yeah.
On Montcalm Ave, former, I know of it as Fountain and Lucas, but I guess it's something else. Give us an idea what you're looking to do and how type of people or how many people, that sort of thing you're gonna be seeing?
So mainly it's gonna be a seamstress work, especially for wedding gowns, but I do everything. Change a zipper and a jacket or a hem, things like that. And it will be only me
Okay,
and the customer at the time. It will be by appointment. And if the business grow, maybe one employee.
how many customers do you expect normally?
Normally,
Per day?
Yeah,
Per,
per day?
probably around 5 maybe. Because I spend 1 hour with one customer because of the fitting.
Okay.
But there is not gonna be an issue with the traffic because it's just one. It's not like I'm gonna have doors open and to the public, it's just the customer.
Okay, are you doing any changes to the building to allow this?
oh, I'm the owner.
Okay,
I already, it used to be big building. We already had the permits to make it smaller. She doesn't need to use the whole building. So
okay,
they have all the dimensions.
okay. All right. Well, what you're looking for is allowed by a special use permit, but since you're changing the use, you have to come before us. Anybody have any questions, comments of it? You know, obviously, I think a lot less traffic than a grocery store.
Oh, yeah, by
Yes.
far.
What are you doing in the other area that you aren't using?
I am a hairdresser. I do hair and eyelash extensions, permanent makeups, all sorts of stuff. So she has a grocery shop. I got those ice cream shop.
Okay. Did that come before us, Joe?
Yes.
Okay,
That's what I was asking about.
okay,
Remember the hairdresser.
Yes, I was here for the meetings.
okay, all right. All right, any other, then I guess Review of the special use permit or the, oh, it's a full environmental.
Yeah.
Entertain a motion.
I will move that after review. the
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep. I'm sorry.
Public comment.
There you go. I need to open it for public comment. Anyone here have any comments? No? All right, then I will close the public comment period. Now I will entertain.
Okay, I move
Sorry,
that after review
thank
of the
you.
full environmental assessment form that we find the proposed action will not result in any significant adverse or environmental impact.
Second.
Second by Justin. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Then I will entertain a motion on the special use permit.
I will make a motion to approve appeal number 2309 for Julietta Hood at 104 Montcalm Ave to convert the current grocery store section of the building into an alteration service.
Second, second by. All right. And the yes vote is to approve this stuff.
That was quick one. Electronic ballot.
Job form.
Okay, we got 5 yeses, so you're good to go. Thank you for
Thank you so much.
Good luck, guys.
participating in
Have
the
a good night.
process. Good luck.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Should have known about that before it's gonna go back to that
I
old bean for
know,
a
I'm
zipper.
excited.
Okay. Next up, Stephanie Boswell Davies. Come on up. So you are looking for a Class A use variance to have 5 unrelated tenants in a house.
Correct.
Okay. Tell us about
So we purchased 78 Broad Street, August of 2019 from Chuck Calioris, who, when we purchased the property, had 5 Prospect State students living in the house. When we bought the house as well, it was also, according to the property description, or it's listed as a 5-bedroom house, 2-bathroom house, with 5 separate bedrooms, 2 full bathrooms within the house. And then no issues at all, never had any problems. And then we were being compliant landlords and called and said, you know, we got a letter saying good for an inspection, and did the inspection, and then was told that there was a letter years ago to Chuck Calioris saying that they can only have 4 tenants, which was never brought to our attention or the process of buying the house or anything. So it was news to us, obviously. We have done a lot of upgrades with the house. Our biggest upgrade we're looking at doing this summer is tearing the driveway up and putting a brand new driveway in. It needs to be redone. But obviously we're losing, income, a tenant, that puts a huge burden on us, to be able to do that. We also, this is my husband, Sean. We have done, like, painted the whole entire inside of the house, put ceiling fans in all the rooms. We've done those type of upgrades within it. We just had to replace the hot water tank this year. In January that went. We put seamless gutters on the house when we first bought it. I think what else. So we've done, upgrades, and we want to continue to do upgrades, but I'm just not having that one student is going to be a huge burden and impact on, what we can do. So we bought it and we're 5, it's listed as 5, bedrooms. So it was kind of a shock when we got, during the inspection saying, oh no, we can only have 4. And then we kind of think about back in our college years, he lived in Renaissance Village. And you kind of like bring that type of housing, to mind. I mean, like one of those pods has 4, students in them. It's like you could fit 4 of those pods within this house. So it's kind of like mind-boggling that we can only have 4 students in this house, when places like Renaissance Village can put 4 in like big room. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like our need, is trying to continue to do these upgrades, because we take pride in our work, and we're both professionals, and we don't want to be known as saying, oh, that house is, it's right there. Like everybody sees it, we painted the door. We first got it. We had it, pressure wash, trying to make sure it looks nice. And he tore all the trees up because they were overgrown, and put a flower bed in, just. So we really try to, keep it presentable.
So the issue is that I get that there's 4, it's limited to 4, but it's a 1,700 square foot house. It's a bigger house. The rooms are big. Some of these rooms are bigger than some of the apartments downtown. I don't know. This is all I really have.
And we have the current tenants now are like just waiting for this meeting, and they keep, texting us saying, what's going on? And I'm like, we don't know, because they want to renew their lease, but we can't do anything yet until we know what's going on.
Well, only one of your tenants is in question.
Yeah, only one.
Right. But it's like, we're going to kick out.
Okay. There's a number of issues with this that I see, and I've mentioned it to some of them. First off, the listing does say 5 bedrooms, and it is a 5-bedroom house. It's also a single-family house, and you are not doing a single family. So you're essentially cherry picking off of a listing. If it said 5-bedroom rental or apartment, then I think it'd be a little different story, but it is noise. And a single family could go in there with 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 people if they're all related. And that's the way the zoning code is written. Okay. This is a special use permit. There are certain criteria that we have to look at to grant or deny. Another issue going through the numbers, I shouldn't say a lot, some of the expenses that you show are what are considered capital improvements and are not expenses. They're increases of value or longevity of the house and wouldn't go against that. And your principal portion of your mortgage payment does not go against that, because that's just a transfer of money from the bank, you to the bank type of thing, and it increases your property, so to speak. When you go to sell it, you get it back type of thing. Once you start factoring that in, your numbers don't look near as bad. Okay. You've got $9,000 in 1 year where you did stuff, and if you maintained a house for $9,000, something's wrong. A lot of that is stuff that is increasing the value of the home. If it were a home or even as an apartment. You know, when you do that, are you looking at increasing the rent?
We've always kept the rent the same. We've never changed our rent. We've always kept it the same.
But you're increasing the value of the property, and as a rental, you know, nicer apartments should rent for more. The other issue, and you read the use variance criteria. You know, one is cannot realize a reasonable return. That the alleged hardship to the property in question is unique. And probably the biggest one is the alleged hardship has not been self-created. That is, in my eyes, but I don't speak for the whole board, the biggest stumbling block right there. The other is this property was sold in 2003 for, what was it, 120 or 115,000 in 2011 or 12 for 121 or something, 126. And then 7 years later, it sold for almost 50% more.
And the taxes actually have gone up too. I mean, the other, okay, so going back to the criteria. So our family now is a family of 8. We have 4 foster kids.
Okay.
So plus our top of our 4 family members that we already have. With that generalization, that wouldn't even fit this criteria. We would not be able to move into this residence.
Adopted.
Because they're not adopted, they're foster. We're a respite family.
Possible. Did you guys understand what you were saying about self-imposed? That just inherently by buying the property, this is a self-imposed hardship. If you bought the property as an investment property to make money, like this issue, the entire issue is self-imposed because you bought it not knowing the zoning around it. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, yeah. But how do we, since this is an antiquated ordinance, because it's not like a one shoe fits all, like I'm saying, there's a lot of these apartments here, like I can make this building a duplex, and then I can have 4 upstairs, 4 downstairs.
We could do that very well.
And
The house.
This is not a one, but then it'll be really, it'll be yucky, they just make an eyesore of the city. I
Well,
think it's,
actually, I don't think you could make a duplex.
okay, so why?
Am I correct, Joe? They can't convert it to a duplex.
So you're talking about making 78 Broad Street a duplex.
Yes. So
Okay, so what you could have is an accessory apartment there. You couldn't have what you would think of as a duplex. There is an allowance for an accessory apartment in this RH zoning district. There's several caveats that go with it. One of them is that it's owner occupied, right? So one of the units has to be owner occupied. So yeah, I understand what you're saying, that this is a big house, 5 bedrooms. It's not Renaissance Village, you know, Renaissance. So the way the ordinance is written is that every unit that's approved for residential use, whether it's an apartment, one of the 110 in Renaissance Village, or it's a single family home, those are a residential unit each, you know. The maximum number of non-blood related in either of those is 4. You might not be allowed 4 if you don't have the bedrooms or the parking or whatever, but the maximum number is 4. And yeah, in this district, you know, there's a funeral home that's been sold, and that's obviously people need to be able to utilize that. So one of the things in the ordinance does allow for another apartment in that same building, but it has to be owner occupied. So it doesn't work for everybody. And the foster care question is an interesting one. If that were a legitimate issue, we'd probably have to run it by our attorney. My guess is that it could be considered temporary and might be, so the ordinance says any number of individuals related by blood, marriage, or adoption. So, you know, if you had 10 people they were adopted kids, or that would all fit that criteria. Foster care, I'm not, if that was a serious question,
And see, that would not be.
I don't have an answer for it right now, but
And that's what I'm saying. It's not a one.
yeah, certainly.
But that's not what you're proposing here.
No, it's not.
What you're proposing is a use that is in that center city, and the code was put in place to limit the problems in the center city. For that exact, just, you call them college students, we have to call them non-blood related.
So you could have 2 brothers or 2 sisters move in and then 3 others?
We just had that discussion, we aren't sure.
Yeah, no, they'd have to fit the definition of a family by entirely being related by blood, marriage, or adoption. Not just like the son of the owner and his friends, or
It could
2
be
brothers
two
and
brothers
3
going to
friends.
Plastic City.
No, no.
Now, you could have 5 brothers that go to Plattsburgh State, and that would be allowed.
Yep.
If you had a whole family going. Then it would be.
God bless them, they
basically
have
like
5 kids of their own though.
No, another thing you could do is it could be your family home and you could rent out rooms to boarders. That is in here, but what happens is that's an owner occupied situation. So yeah, those issues usually take care of themselves in that way, but so you could rent out rooms if the owner lived there. If you understand what I'm saying.
But it's still.
Anybody have any other questions, discussion?
One thing I had asked downstairs is just, has there ever been an allowance like this? And since the zoning ordinance changed in the 1980s, there's never been a single allowance to allow for this variance in the zoning. So just for what that's worth, this is not. Since the zoning was put in place in the 1980s.
Feel it, it wasn't disclosed to us, so it was kind of.
We got blindsided, the whole thing.
No, and if
Everything else that happened.
I remembered years ago, somebody used to live there as a single family home. And he sold it, that was early 2000s, somewhere around there. And as he was selling it, people were interested in buying it as a rental. But whatever the sale price was, they would call us and ask, how many students can we have? We'd tell them 4. And the numbers just didn't work for whatever the sale price was with whatever the rental income was. So lots of people fell by the wayside. But then one person bought it, and it's, who we were talking about. And we actually found out they had more than 4 in there at one point. And
Well, originally it was 7.
okay, so it may have been whatever his number was, we caught them with more. It became an issue. We took them to court. I'm not sure we actually got to court. They reduced the number willingly. And I think there's a letter on file where we, address that. So
They certainly should have told you.
I'm not shocked that I'm hearing you say that, but it's disheartening.
Well, now it's gonna be a hardship to sell the place. I mean.
Well, you, as Mr. Domain had said, you're doing a lot of improvements. You could consider, upping your rent to kind of offset that. It won't be 100% offset, but it could definitely help.
Students or parents aren't gonna pay so much. I mean, they're not gonna pay, $4,000, $8,000 a year to live here, but I can live, here for $3,000 a semester. I mean,
Like I said, it's gonna be a hardship to sell it with only 4, and then.
What's the rule with like Airbnbs?
Okay, so Airbnb is not governed by our ordinance, but I think the state has an overriding. One of the caveats to that is that it should be owner occupied too. Airbnb. And I think if that's the case, they're lax on their regulations about that.
I mean, just to do the driveway, we're looking at 10 grand, like, That's, you know, more than three of the tenants there for a semester. There's just no way we could do it.
Well, shall we address the environmental assessment form? Uh, On C3A, should be checked yes. And the overlay or zoning classification is RH, correct? This is RH? Yeah. My only other comments were on D2D. Proposed action to generate liquid waste. Fifth person would definitely do that. How much, I don't know. So that should be checked, yes. And what do they figure per person, gallons per day, Joe? Gallons per day. I know I'm digging into your memory bank.
Yeah.
Throwing a round number of 100.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
So it'd be 100 gallons per day, and it will, in the proposed action, use existing wastewater treatment facilities should be yes. That's on DII. And existing sewer lines, yes. And line extension, no. Everything else is good. Anybody have any other comments on the environmental assessment? Everything else to me looked good. Yes, public comment. Anyone in the public? No, I'll close the public comment period. Oh, that's right. There were two letters that should be in from the executive director of the Plattsburgh College Foundation, saying that they expressed concerns about it and they object to the request for relief. And there was also one from the president of SUNY basically saying the same thing. And our major concern relates to the increase in risks related to fire and the ability of a larger number of residents to exit residence. In addition, the approval of a variance will set a precedent, thus encouraging other applications from other property owners to increase the occupancy. Did you get copies of these?
No.
You did
Can we
not.
get copies?
Yep, here. While they're looking over that, we can address the environmental assessment form.
That after reviewing the full environmental assessment form, we find that the proposed action will not result in any adverse.
Seconded by Kelly. All in favor? Aye. Comments?
I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinion.
Yeah. Okay, all right, I just wanted to give you a chance to.
I mean, I work for SUNY, so.
Okay, all right. I guess I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion in regards to appeal number 2310 to approve the Class A use variance to increase the occupancy to 5 students in the home.
Second.
Okay. So unanimous, no. Sorry. And I think people have expressed their opinion. Did anybody want to say anything? I won't poll everyone, but,
I do.
okay.
I really struggled with this. If it weren't for setting precedents and knowing how much other homeowners, building owners in the city are struggling with other non-family residents, I think I might have challenged this a little bit more. I think, but it's the setting the precedents, you know, we talked about that in the pre-meeting, that you just can't go down that path without a lot of blowback. And I feel very bad that you guys were kind of led to believe that this was a 5-student home when it was not. I really want you to know that I feel for you. This was not an easy decision.
Anyone
Was it
else?
unanimous vote?
Yes, all 5. Yes.
It really just boils down to precedent. That Center City. If this gets let loose, then you have parking grading issues and noise and everything, and that's the reason the restrictions were put in place in the 80s. Everything up until this point has been pre-existing. So if you're thinking of these huge houses, tons, you know.
I understand, thank you. It just frustrates me the fact that there had been 5 living there, there had been 7 living there, you know, and then now there's been 5 since at least we've owned it, you know, and before Chuck had 7. And they've never had a noise ordinance, parking's never been an issue, it has, you know, a huge parking, you know, driveway and everything, and there's a 2+ garage, they could use it, you know, parking became an issue, you know.
And I'll tell you that that's you know, that just goes to show that you guys are good landlords and that kind of stuff. And zoning is really hard. It's the hardest part of my job because, you know, you go to people and you talk to them about something that's kind of obscure in our ordinance and you say, hey, I'm sorry, but you can't do this. And they say, what do you mean? I'm not hurting anybody. Look at this. And you have to say, yeah, but what if everybody did this? What if that guy and that guy and that guy all had cars up on blocks in the front yard, you know, whatever the case is. So it's not an isolated thing. You have to think about it. If this wasn't here, what about the landlords that aren't good? What kind of chaos would that be if we didn't have these regulations?
So my only question, how long does he have, like, that one person to at least finish out the semester
I
in
mean,
May?
the weeks.
Because they're on up there.
Yeah, I mean, that's an excellent question. I think the zoning board might have some discretion here. I mean, I don't, I personally don't believe anybody's in harm's way there. I don't believe it's overoccupied situation where somebody's sleeping in a closet, you know, without a smoke detector and that kind of thing. So, I mean, I would put it to the board if they had any thoughts on this, and then, you know, maybe work it from
Like a
there.
separate motion for this?
Have we had a complaint?
I don't
This-
believe,
this-
I don't believe we've had a complaint.
This basically got stayed because they applied for the variance.
Right.
Or for the,
That's right.
so we deny it in February, they're already into the semester for a set period of time.
And I will tell you, we've taken a case like this to court one time, and the judge let them finish out the semester.
I would have no problem.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. If we-
How do we do that?
Just verbally. There's no application for that.
Can I just make
motion,
this
so-
accessory motion to that, or is that closed out?
No, I mean, we could, I guess, but I guess I wish we had a lawyer here.
I don't think the board needs to take any action. I think if you were to take action, what you'd do is you'd set a date that you'd want them to be vacated by. And then we'd have to work from it from there. If, in absence of that, I think it's left to our office.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is there's been no complaint. So if you don't enforce it until after the semester, no harm, no foul.
Sorry, guys.
So if you're good with that, I'm fine. I think the board is fine with that. If it becomes an issue, then we'll address it.
Two of them are Canadians, so you can deport them. Just wait till the hockey season's over.
Just let them know to not create any issues that, you know, bring the attention to them for sure.
There you go.
Yeah,
It's not what you do, it's what you get caught at.
right.
Sorry.
I like that
thank
too, like-
you.
Okay, we have some minutes.
Was there a meeting last month? Because I thought I had canceled this.
There was a meeting,
Oh, there wasn't a meeting.
yes.
Okay.
You didn't show up.
I did not.
And neither did PJ.
Oh, PJ. I won.
Um,
I'll make a motion to approve the January 18th minutes.
Second.
all four of us in favor?
Yep, ma'am.
Aye. Okay, that's 18. We have December 20th, and we can't approve that because PJ didn't come.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, but I believe that the one before, no, we can't do the one before either, because PJ's not here. One was me, Elizabeth, and PJ, and the other one was Megan, PJ, and myself. So,
I make a motion to conclude our Valentine's Day, February 14th meeting.
our chocolate induced high. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Okay.